Hi students, good morning to all. After a gap, once again, your EPR. Welcome to physics class. And being a part of Nagabhairava, the prestigious educational institution, we are trying to bring the best to our children who trust us and join your kids. We are always doing the update attempts to give the best in the field. Due to this pandemic situation, Corona, till now we are unable to run our classes. No doubt I can say you miss a lot because a well-cooked, delicious food, delicious dish is ready to serve you at Nagabhairava. Still, our untiring effects of our team, all subjects, mathematics, physics, chemistry, as well as botany, zoology, we are ready with a very good preparation which gives high benefits to our students. Welcome to Nagabhairava. Now let us take the next chapter in the physics. Welcome to physics class. Today we are going to switch over to next chapter in physics. Very interesting, of course very important of mechanics part, which is nothing but Newton's laws of motion. Simply laws of motion. Due to the untiring efforts of the greatest personality in physics, Sir Newton, Isaac Newton, these were named as Newton's laws of motion. Right. So far, in the preceding chapters, we are concerned to study the motion of bodies quantitatively only. What do you mean by quantitatively? A body is in motion. Its velocity is something. The time of journey is given as something. What distance it can travel in the stipulated times? What is its final velocity? What is its acceleration? These are called quantitative things. We never question about which factor causes the motion of the body to move. This is called quantitative study. Coming to these quantitative study also, we need velocity for a body is moving with uniform motion. It means to study the uniform motion of a body, we need only one factor, that is velocity. Velocity. That means what is the velocity of a body? If we know this factor, we can study the motion, the uniform motion of a body. Whereas, to study the non-uniform motion of the body, we need one more term also, which is nothing but acceleration. This is acceleration of a body in addition to the previous. That means in addition to the velocity also. This. Good. Now my question and our question is, what is the cause? Simply speaking, what governs the motion of the body? Try to understand. It's a beautiful question. When your body is in motion means immediately the next question is, which factor causes, which governs the motion of the body? Before going to discuss this, let us consider some examples. Consider a ball, a football, stationary on horizontal ground. Now it is said to be at rest. When one player kicks it, it is in motion. It comes into motion. Even wind, a blowing wind causes the leaves of a tree falling down. This. And the same factor, the wind causes a boat to sail. In all these examples, there is an external agency which causes the motion of the object. That means when the ball was kicked by the football player, the foot of the player comes into contact with the ball and which set the ball into motion, simply to move. The air winds causes the trees, the leaves fall down from the trees. The pushing air causes the boat to move. In all these cases, the external agency of force causes the stationary bodies to move. Same is the case when the body is in motion, opposed by force, simply they brought to rest. A rolling ball in the previous case on the horizontal ground comes to stop gradually due to the friction which opposes the motion of the body. Our next question is, in the previous cases, the force is directly in contact with the body. My next question is it necessary in all cases the force will in contact with the body? Is it essential the force to be in contact with the body in all cases? May not. Let us consider this example. When a ball is allowed to fall freely from the top of a tower, no force acts on that body. Observe carefully. When a ball is allowed to fall freely from the top of a tower, it acquires velocity, and time to time its velocity increases and hits the ground with maximum velocity. Here, which causes the body to acquire velocity? That is Earth's acceleration due to gravity. Simply, Earth's attractive force acts on it and pulls the body towards it with a certain force. Hence, it causes the increase in velocity. In this case, the so-called external agency of force is not contact with the body. Another example, simply take a magnet. A magnet can attract small pieces of iron and iron granules from a certain distance, not in contact, from certain distance also, it can pulse the iron and nails and iron dust particles clearly. That means it is possible by the attractive force of the magnet. Here, the external force is not contact with the bodies. It acts from certain distance. So, if we consider the previous two cases of examples, we can conclude that the force which causes the motion may or may not be in contact with the body. Let us summarize. For a stationary body or for a body moving in, for a body in motion, an external agency of force is essential to change its state. Shall I repeat once again? See, for a body which is at rest, it continues to be at rest only. For a body in motion, it likes to be continue in motion only until an external force acts on that body. Now, up to this, it's fine. Now our question is, this external force which may be in contact or may not be in contact is essential in all cases. Exclusively, the external force of agency is required to keep a body in motion also. In the previous case, our observation is a force is required to move a stationary body, or force is required to bring a moving body to rest. Now our question is a force is essential to continue the motion of a body? It's a right question. It's a very interesting question also. If a body is in motion already, consider a body is in motion. The question is that force is essential to continue that motion? This. The previous attempt, that means almost as per history concerned, the first attempt was made by Aristotle, a Greek scientist. Aristotle before Christ, and we feel it's very funny, before Christ we are speaking about physics. That is the greatness of physics. All laws of motion and all branches of physics exist from last so many ages of years. The previous question is a force is essential to continue the motion? This. It appears to be very simple. This. Very simple. What is the question? Is external force is required to continue the motion of your body? This. Of course, it is a very interesting thing. It takes hundreds of years to get a proper answer for this question. Hence, it is made by Aristotle. According to Aristotle, a force is essential to continue the motion of a body. Listen carefully. A force is essential to continue the motion of a body means a body which is already in motion, even though a force is required to continue that motion. This, which is against to the previous definition. This. Let us consider this example. A bullet was fired from a gun. This. A bullet was fired from a gun. That means with some initial velocity. Now it is in motion. This. According to Aristotelian theory, the air behind the bullet pushes the bullet continuously, hence keep it in motion. I think you understood the concept. This. When an arrow was released from the bow with certain velocity, the arrow keeps moving this with certain velocity. According to Aristotelian force theory, the air behind the arrow produces the necessary force to keep the body in motion, to keep the arrow in motion. Is it correct? Of course, you are right. It is not correct. It is misconception. Later it was disproved. There is no such force to continue the motion of a body which is already in motion. That's why this is called the fallacy of Aristotle. This fallacy. This is called law of fallacy of Aristotle. This. According to this, what is the fallacy? What is the wrong in this concept? According to Aristotle, a force is essential to continue the motion of a moving body also. No force is required actually. It is a misconception. Later it was disproved by the new term scientist by name Galileo. By name Galileo. Fine. Up to this, this is okay. Next question is the so-called external agency of force is essential to keep a body in motion? It means the force, what we studied in the previous cases, which set a stationary body in motion or which brings back a moving body to rest, is it require for a moving body also? That is our next question. Of course, it appears very simply, but can you believe it takes hundreds of years to get a theoretical answer for this. This attempt was made by Aristotle by his law, Aristotle's law. Since it was later disproved, that means it is found to be wrong, this is called Aristotle's fallacies. Aristotle's fallacies. Why, sir? You may raise the question, why it's a law of fallacies? Even you know it is false, why? What is the need of studying this under the heading of law of fallacies? Because it's a basic of new inventions, new age inventions, which leads to so very great discoveries. See, according to Aristotle, an external force is essential to keep your body in motion. See the difference between these two. When your body is at rest, a force is needed to keep it in motion. Same force is required to bring back a moving body to rest. Here it is a third question, it's a different case. Is a force is required to continue the motion of a body? As I said, it is not so simple as we are hearing. It needs a very logical thinking. A blunder mistake made by Aristotle is, according to Aristotle, a force is required to continue the motion of a moving body also. Moving body, let us see, what is that? If a bullet is fired from a gun, it delivers with a velocity and it continues to move. According to Aristotle, the very interesting and important thing is the force behind it, that means the air behind the bullet pushes the bullet from time to time and continues the motion of that bullet. Same is the case when arrow is released from a bow. The arrow is moving this. How it moves? According to Aristotle, the air behind the arrow pushes it. That means it applies force on the arrow to continue its motion. Let's consider one more example. A boy pulling a toy car with the help of a string on a horizontal floor. Once he pulls the car to start the motion, when the car is at rest to start the motion, he applied some force. When it comes into force, need not apply the force on it, but he is pulling continuously. Why? This applied force is not using to continue the motion of the toy car, but it used to overcome the frictional forces which opposes the motion of the car. When the car is moving, the frictional force between the floor and the wheels of the car tries to stop the car. To overcome that frictional force, the boy is applying the force continuously, but in the absence of that frictional force, no need to apply the force continuously by the string. That means it is not correct to say a force is required to continue the motion of a body. That means no force is required to keep a body in motion which is already moving. This is under the title of Aristotle's fallacy. What is the Aristotle's law of fallacy? According to Aristotle, an external agency of force is essential It means an essential force is required to continue the motion of a moving body. Later it was disproved, hence this is called Aristotle's law of fallacy. This was identified by the another generation scientist. He is none other than Galileo, and he established new concepts of mechanics by Galilean laws. He studied the motion of a body in three different cases. First is when a body is moving up an inclined plane. This is inclined plane. See, when a body is pushed up with a certain velocity onto an inclined plane, what happened? It's everyone's experience. When it is pushed up with a certain force, as it moves up gradually, the velocity of the body goes on decreasing. Finally, at the highest point, it comes to stop. Also this. And case 2, he studied the motion of the body in the downward direction also. This. That means when it is released from the top of an inclined plane, what happens? As it moves downwards, its velocity increases. In the previous case, as it moves up, its velocity decreases. In this case, as it moves down, its velocity increases. Third case, what happens if the ball is supposed to move on a horizontal with the same force? Same force is applied. It continues to move with a constant velocity. From these observations, Galileo concluded that a body moving with a uniform velocity continues to move without any disturbance forever, which leads to the statement, a body in motion continues to be moved without any influence of the external force. This is called a Galilean law, this Galilean law of motion. And of course, it is also called Galilean's law of inertia. Galilean's law of inertia. This. According to Galileo, a property, inherent property of a body was defined as it is inertia. What is inertia? The inherent property of a body by virtue of which a body cannot change its state of rest or of its uniform motion is defined as inertia. Later, this definition becomes very useful in the study of next level of mechanics. Now, Galileo's revolutionary ideas in mechanics identifies the necessity of new concepts in physics, new concepts in mechanics, which were single-handedly taken over by the greatest scientist of all ages, Sir Isaac Newton, successfully, and he formulated some laws by his very famous laws by name Newton's laws of motion, which explains beautifully the relation between the force and motion of the body. What is the impact of a force on the motion of the bodies by his Newton's laws of motion? By his laws of motions, he established a relation between the force and motion systematically and theoretically by namely 3 laws. Let us discuss the 3 laws. First law is According to Newton's first law of motion, it is based on Galilean's law actually, which states that a body, everybody continues to be in its state of rest or of its uniform motion unless it is compelled by an external force to change its state. This is called Newton's first law of motion. Once again, I am repeating. According to Newton's first law, every body continues to be in its state of rest or of its uniform motion unless it is compelled by an external force to change its state. This is called Newton's first law. And one more important thing is, Newton's first law introduced two important concepts by name: inertia and force. We already discussed the term inertia. Now next question is, what is force? What is force? Force is that which changes or try to change the position of your body is defined as force. Once again, what is force means? Force is that which changes. For example, I am pushing this object with some force. It changes its position. Sometimes, even if we apply force, the position of the body may not be changed. It doesn't mean no force acts on that body. It's wrong. For example, I am pushing the board with a force of say 100 Newton. It does not move this. It means I am not applying force. No, I am applying some force. I try to change the position of that body. This is defined as force. Now coming to second laws. Second laws. According to Newton's second law, the rate of change of momentum of your body, the rate of change of momentum of your body is directly proportional to the external force which causes to change the momentum of the body. Once again, according to Newton's second law, the rate of change of momentum of your body is directly proportional to the external force which causes that change. It means we can explain the same like this. Consider a body of mass m. Consider a body of mass m which moves with a velocity v. When a force F acts on that body, its velocity changes to delta v. V plus, let delta v be the change, then this becomes v plus delta v. Similarly, what happened? Its momentum changes from p to p plus delta p. It's a change in momentum. According to the definition of second law, the force is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum, delta p by delta t. If we introduce a constant which is called proportionality constant, the same can also be written as F is equal to K into delta p by delta t. When the time, that means we consider the time to be very small, that means when delta t tends to 0, the above expression can written as the differentiation of these terms, which is nothing but F is equal to constant K and nothing but dp by dt in the terms of differentiation of momentum and times. Since we know very well P is equal to the product of mass and velocity, the same thing we can write F is equal to a constant K. In the place of P, it is nothing but d by dt of mv. In general, the mass of the body may be constant. That's why The same can be written as k m. It is nothing but dv by dt. dv by dt. The term dv by dt represents the rate of change of velocity. From kinematics, we have very clear knowledge about the rate of change of velocity is nothing but acceleration. That's why this term can be replaced with acceleration. So finally, we derived at f is equal to kma, which is nothing but the second law of Newton. This second law clearly explains the momentum. That implies, according to second law, F is equal to kma, where k is a constant. For our convenience sake, consider k as 1. Then we got F is equal to ma. This is Newton's second law of motion, the relation between force and acceleration of a body. Here, if you notice carefully, it's very interesting and very funny thing also. When force is equal to 0, when force is 0, then the acceleration is 0. It means when no force acts on your body, the body has 0 acceleration. Here, it's a brainful question. 0 acceleration means what? It's possible in two cases. Number one, when the body is at rest. Number two, the body is in motion but with uniform velocity. When the body is at rest, clearly acceleration is 0 because there is no motion at all. And the acceleration becomes equal to 0 even the body is moving with uniform velocity. That means as per second law considered, as per force considered, the body which is at rest and the body is moving with uniform velocity, both are equivalent. It's a very interesting thing. Right. Let us go to the third law, which is Newton's third law, and it is universal, and many cases in our daily life we will come across this third law, Newton's third law of motion. This from your school knowledge you have clearly. What is Newton's third law? For every reaction there will be equal and opposite reaction. Once again, for every reaction there will be equal and opposite reaction. But very important thing is, keep in mind, action or reaction never acts on the same body. For example, if a body is kept on a horizontal table, its weight mg acts vertically downward, it acts on the table, it is reaction. The normal reaction acts by the horizontal table on this body vertically upwards, that is